So why in the world would anyone get up at 5 a.m.? That's a question I get all the time. Why do I get up at 5 a.m.? How do I have the discipline to get up at 5 a.m.? How am I motivated to get up at 5 a.m.? And what exactly is happening at 5 a.m.? Today, I'm sharing the secrets of how I get up at 5 a.m., what my motivation is, and why you too can get up at 5 a.m. So first of all, when you think about getting up at 5 a.m., you have to consider what happens before that, which is at night. So you've got two ways to view your morning routine and actually getting up at 5 a.m. Number one, you're going to purposefully go to bed earlier the night before to get up at 5 a.m., or you're going to start getting up at 5 a.m. and because you will just naturally, organically be tired sooner, you'll then kind of push yourself into an earlier bedtime on the other end of that. So it's really two parts to it. You've got to be going to bed earlier to be getting up earlier. And the beautiful part about that too is there's so much science behind that sort of rhythm of going to bed earlier, getting up earlier. There's so much science and research behind that's when our bodies will rest, recharge, reset the most. And that chances are, I don't know if this is science or just a lot of years on this planet proving this to be true. Chances are the stuff that most of us are doing, there are the rare people who are absolutely night owls, who are doing their creative and productive work late at night. But for most of us, probably, I'm just going to say, 90% of us, and it's just a speculation. Most of us, the majority of us, if we're up late at night, chances are it's doing stuff that we don't need to do. We might think we need to do it, but we don't need to do it at midnight, or we're scrolling around doing nothing productive. Most of us, most of the time. There are those rare moments when, you're up putting, Christmas presents together, or it was a travel day or whatever. But most of the time, if we're up, we're watching a movie, we're scrolling on social media, we're not doing anything productive. And that's the time to go to bed. And then you can get up earlier the next day. So it's this sort of two-pronged situation when you're getting up at 5 a.m. You've got to be going to bed earlier. And if going to bed earlier right out of the gate, it feels hard to you, just start getting up earlier, because that will force you to organically have to go to sleep a little bit earlier. You can't function on 3 or 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So you got to be going to bed earlier. I am pretty strong on being asleep by 10 p.m. And I tell you this, as a mom of 3, I may not have those children in my house right now, but I was really strict about bedtime for them and bedtime for me. And often they would have practices or rehearsals that went later. And when they started driving in high school, they would get home and I'd already be in bed. And they know, they would come up and I'd already be in bed. And they could come in and talk to me, but I was already in bed, because sleep is that important. It also models for them how important sleep is. And it's different when you've got a baby, a newborn, and you're just up at all hours of the night. But if you've got elementary and middle school kids, they need a bedtime. Everybody needs a bedtime. And if you've got high schoolers who naturally, in that kind of biorhythm situation that happens, want to stay up later and get up later, that's just a natural hormonal flow that happens. They're going to have to sort of work through that themselves. There's nothing really that we can do about that. That is a very natural hormonal flow that adolescents, they want to stay up later and get up later. So do your best to keep them on a steady bedtime, but also know some of that is just sort of hormonal, and they got to kind of live through it. We all did, right? We've all had to kind of live through it. And then on the other side of that, I'm watching now, I'm watching my daughters as they're getting a little bit older, not needing to sleep till noon, they've worked through it. They're through it, but model that good bedtime and that early morning productive time for them. I promise you it'll make all the difference. You're either going to bed earlier or you're getting up at 5 and letting that organically push you to an earlier bedtime. Next up, you have to ask yourself the question, is this really about wanting to get up at 5 a.m.? No. Most people don't want to get up at 5 a.m., but what we want is to feel confident and productive and centered and focused in our lives. We want to feel like we're in control of our lives. We also have to stop caring about how our hair looks at 5 a.m. I mean, nobody cares. So you gotta stop caring about how your hair looks at 5 a.m. But you have to ask yourself, is this about if I want to get up at 5 a.m. or is this about, do I want to create the life on purpose that I want to create? And that might require getting up at 5 a.m. Part two of that, when you get up at 5 a.m., what are you doing? When you're getting up early, what is that creating in your life? Is it space to work on the book that you've always wanted to write? Is it space to do some prayer and some devotionals that you feel like you never get a moment to yourself to do? Is it space to work out and make sure that your fitness happens right then? Is it space to meal prep and make sure that you're ready for the day? Is it space to work on your side hustle, that business that you're hoping will help create income for your family? What is that space doing? And I actually just read an article that was talking about the benefits of getting up early. And the author was talking about how he actually has no plan when he gets up. Now, he doesn't have children, but he has no plan when he gets up. He gets up early and lets that space sort of just be free space in his day. I think for most of us, we want a very solid morning routine. That solid morning routine, it's almost like the catalyst or the driver for the getting up. So the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. Number one, no snooze button. Zero snooze button. No, zero snooze button. Broken sleep. And mamas of newborns, you can absolutely attest to this. Broken sleep is worse than less sleep. That is also scientifically proven. Broken sleep is worse than just less sleep. So when you're hitting snooze, your body's starting to go back into its sleep pattern, and then you're jarring it back out. And there's a lot of science that also shows it takes our bodies longer to recover from that. Let me tell you something. I've got like the worst snooze hitter in my home, which is my husband. We've been married 26 years, and for 26 years, every single morning, I'm like, stop hitting the snooze. You'd be so much more productive. He's gotten so much better, but he's still it's still a bad habit. So I'm telling you from science and from personal experience that if you want to be more productive and centered and confident in your day, and you want to not be so groggy, that is an actual physical situation that will happen from hitting snooze. Don't hit snooze. Set the alarm for the time you're going to get up. Second, have a solid morning routine. My solid morning routine is the same every morning, even pretty close to that on the weekends. I don't get up at 5 a.m. on the weekends, but I have that same pretty solid morning routine. I almost think of it like a block of these activities that I do, and I get up and then I just insert that block, or I walk into this block of activities. I already know what I'm doing. I don't want free space when I get up at 5 a.m. For other people, maybe that free space helps them think or write that book or make that video or whatever creative endeavor they have. I want to have a very solid block of activities that I'm stepping into that helps me feel more confident and productive in my day. So the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. I immediately get in the shower. I clearly don't wash my hair when I get in the shower because that wakes me up. And some people are like, my gosh, you seem like you shower a lot. Yeah, so okay. So I will shower more than once a day. Yeah, that's okay to do. So I get up, I get in the shower, it wakes me up. It's also space for my brain to wake up and space for my brain to not be doing anything. There's no social media, there's no outside influence, there's no nothing. So my brain starts to wake up, ideas start to, flow. I get in the shower, I get ready, put my workout clothes on, come downstairs, make my energize. Because I'm going to make my energize, I'm going to do my thing. So right away, again, next step in my solid morning routine, I'm making my energize. Then I do my gratitude and goals. I use the Start Today journal. I found this to be just the best journal for me to write down my gratitude and my goals every day. And I believe strongly in starting our day with gratitude. No matter what else happens, most of us are really blessed for the life that we have. And sometimes we just need to remember that. And when we start our day with that reminder, I think it sets the tone for the rest of our day. Then I do personal development. Right now I'm reading this book. It's so great. And I also journal while I'm reading that so that I can remember any ideas that come to me. And then I might, depending on the day, I might check my email. I might check in with my my online fitness group and do some tasks like that. And then I go work out. And it's just boom, 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 boom. And that is also part of the power of that solid morning routine. When I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I don't wander around going, gosh, I wonder what I should do. I have my solid morning routine, and step by step, I work through it. And by the time I get done with that, it's like, yes, let's go. Like, I am so fired up for the day because I've really set the tone intentionally for my day. And that, my friends, is everything. Because if we can set the tone for our day, and then we can string together a lot of days like that, we can set the tone for our life. Okay, so let's recap. We're going to set the alarm for 5 a.m. We're going to decide if we are going to go to bed earlier the night before, or if we're going to let that 5 a.m. alarm sort of organically push us into the earlier bedtime naturally and start going to bed earlier, because we know we should be doing that anyway. When we get up, we're going to have a solid morning routine. Maybe you shower like I do. Maybe you put your workout clothes on, you make your energized, you go do your workout right away. I'm going to strongly suggest that you get some gratitude, some goals, some vision planning. You know, what's the big picture for your life? Don't just be working through your to-do list and get to the end of the day and go, well, did I move my life forward in the direction that I wanted to or not? Don't get to the end of your life and wish you would have done more, or wow, I'm so glad I crossed all those items off on my to-do list. No, your life's more than that. So use that time in the morning to dream bigger and to set goals for your life and take some action to get yourself closer to those goals. Have that solid morning routine that you're working through step by step by step. Know this too. Your morning routine, the components in the block, the steps in the block will change as the seasons of your life change. When you have a newborn baby, your morning routine might be, I'm going to drink some Energize so I can get through the day. I'm going to write down one thing I'm grateful for. There's your morning routine, because that's what you have time to do. That's what you have time to process in your brain. But then as your children get older, maybe your morning routine consists of a little bit more, and then you're out the door to get them to school. And then as they get a little bit older and they start driving, your morning routine is a little bit different. And then when you're a mom in transition like me and your kids are gone, your morning routine can look a little different. So the components matter, but what's more important is that you have the morning routine. That will drive you out of bed earlier because you have something you're stepping into. And when you're stepping into a space where you can dream bigger and you can have goals and visions and plans for your life, and you are intentionally working towards those every day, you naturally want to get out of bed. Who wants to sleep their life away? You want to get out of bed to work towards those goals and dreams. So if you're asking me, do I like to get up at 5 a.m.? That's the wrong question. That's not the question you should be asking yourself either. The question you need to be asking yourself is, do I want to create a life on purpose? Do I want to create a life with intention? Do I want to create a life that's extraordinary? And if the answer to that is yes, then the alarm part is easy. 5 a.m., that's the easy part. Creating the life on purpose with intention, that's going to take a little bit of work, and that can happen in that early morning space. So that's how I get up at 5 a.m. It's how you can too. I promise you, it is just a choice. I don't have any more discipline or motivation than anybody else. I just choose to create a life that's extraordinary, and that's going to happen starting at 5 a.m. every day. So cheers to the early mornings.